Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. With me today, I have Kieran Halligan from New York City. He is a business coach and a leadership coach down there, and he's going to be sharing with us how to have more freedom as a business owner. Who doesn't want that? Kieran, thanks for joining me, man.
Absolute pleasure, man. Happy to be here.
Can you start us off by sharing what kind of got you into the leadership and coaching space? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. So I moved to New York about 11 years ago, and I moved over Irish. So the first thing I did was get a job in an Irish bar, right? It was a low-hanging fruit. And I quickly climbed the ladder with them within a couple of years, and I became a managing partner in a hospitality group in the city. And although it felt like great success to me at the time, what I really found was that what it did was it drained me of all my energy. It changed who I was as a person, and I lost track of the things that really mattered to me. So while I was doing it, I was lucky enough that I was able to recognize what was going on, and I was able to part ways with the hospitality group on good terms. But then I found myself in this situation where I was kind of like, I always knew I wanted to help people and contribute back to people. And coaching was something that kept coming up for me, right? I was relatively successful at a pretty young age. I was 29 when I became their partner in the hospitality group. And I wanted to share what I had learned with other people, because I knew who I was back then would have hugely benefited from who I am now, right? Because I found myself busy in the day-to-day, stuck in the weeds, focusing on the things that didn't matter, because being busy felt like I was doing the right thing. But quite often it wasn't the case. So that's where I kind of developed into a coach. I did a lot of studying in coaching, and I launched a business.
That's really cool, man. So one of the things you're going to be talking about today is how to have more freedom, and it seems like you've really been able to master that. And I can't wait to hear about it for everybody listening. So what it boils down to, what you told me, was mindset. That's the biggest thing when it comes to having more freedom as a business owner. And your first point is to know yourself to compete better. Can you explain that for us? Yeah.
So mindset is one of those things that not a lot of people want to talk about, because it's kind of woo-woo. It's a bit out there. It's a bit hard to describe. But when it comes down to it, mindset is the only thing that matters when developing a business. Everything around your business is basically controlled by your mindset, your relationships, the quality of service, everything, your own efforts, right? If you're feeling a little bit down, you're not able to operate at the level that you want to. So to go back to what you were saying around mindset and how it kind of holds us back from the freedom that we want to gain, quite often it's fear-based, right? And it's the fact that people start their businesses, and quite rightly, they don't want to give away power for people operating in their business. Right, and it makes sense. It's like your child, right? You have a baby, you don't want to hand the baby off to someone else to take care of it because it's yours and it's precious and you know what's best for it. But the cost of that is that you work more hours than you need to do, and you feel yourself getting burnt out, you'll get stale, and your relationships as a result will suffer.
Oh, I love that. So the second step you have here is learn to stop being stressed. I think that's a little bit easier said than done, but it boils back to the mindset. So how do we stop being so stressed out?
So stress is one of them really interesting things. Tony Robbins mentions that pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. And what he means by that is pain is always going to happen. But the amount of time that we spend suffering is directly correlated to the amount of time that we spend thinking about it, right? So stress, let's look at stress. What exactly is it? Stress is when you're lacking something. That's the bottom line when it comes to it. So if you feel like you have a lot of work to do and it needs to be done within a deadline and you don't have enough time to get it done, you're going to feel stressed because you're lacking time, right? If you have bills to pay and you don't have enough income coming in, you're going to feel stressed because you don't have enough money, right? If you have jobs that need to be done around your business and you don't have enough employees to do it, you're going to feel stressed because you're overwhelmed, there's too much to do and you don't have the bodies to help you do it. So you can either choose to spend your time thinking about how little time or people or resources that you have, or you can choose to accept the situation and move on from it. So the solution to stress is typically communication. So in all of them situations, if you have deadlines that you're struggling to meet, if you speak to the people who you need to hit the deadlines with, you'll start to lift all these inner thoughts that you have and the fear of not hitting it, the fear of looking bad, the fear of being judged, right? Because now you're in communication with people and you will actually feel the stress lifting. So stress is basically self-inflicted because of the ideas and mindset that we have that the worst case scenario will come to fruition because we can't do X or Y.
What does that communication look like? Is it just a quick chat, or is it really sitting down with them and going over the project? Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so it's the quality of your communication, and there's two elements to it. So there's internal communication, so it's what you're telling yourself. So you need to look at yourself and like listen to the things that your mind is saying. So you may be telling yourself that you're not good enough, right? That people are going to think X or Y of you. Because the root of fear and the reason why we act upon fear actually comes down to love. We're all just a little bit insecure and we all just want to be loved, right? And if we fail in doing something, we're not going to get that love that we crave. So that your communication will start telling you all these things. Your inner communication will tell you all these things to either stop you trying to do something or just to hold, it's basically to keep you safe. With the external communication, it's just being honest with those who are around you, because the longer that you keep those things from the people who are on the other side of the relationship, the more pain you're going to feel. And quite often, most people are reasonable, people understand, right? So if you have a problem with bills, you can often speak to those who you owe money to, and they will give you an extension, right? But it's when you don't tell them about it, is that pressure builds up, the weight gets heavier, and you get stuck in this situation. You feel the stress in your chest, you feel the overwhelm, you feel the sickness in your stomach, and it's all just self-imposed. Whereas by actually communicating with people, you'll see the outcome, and quite often the outcome is way less or nowhere near as severe as what you expect it to be, because your mind does tell you the worst case scenario in almost every situation.
And that even goes to talking with your team. You might think that you have to do all of this stuff because you're a perfectionist or you want your name on it. And they might be sitting there the whole time and just thinking, man, if you would just reach out, I would love to help Kieran with what's going on right here. But they just never reach out, right? And they're just stressed out.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like we as people, we love helping other people, but we don't realize that other people love helping other people, right? It's one of these weird like paradoxes that goes on in life where like you feel a certain way. It's a human nature, like to be in tribes and help people, right? It's a community. That's what we're kind of used to. But there's that fear in, if I tell these people that I can't do this on my own, it makes me look weak, and no one wants to look weak. So I 100% agree that communication with your team is absolutely critical. And I would imagine 9 times out of 10, I just made that fact up, but I would imagine 9 times out of 10, if you ask for help, everyone's hand will go up. Everyone wants to help everyone at the end of the day. So release your stress by asking for help, by communicating with other people, and stop telling yourself the worst case scenario. And if you are, catch it and question how true it actually is.
Mm-hmm. So your final point here is learn to understand why your fears hold you back. So why do our fears hold us back?
So it goes back to the 6 inches between our 2 ears, right? Our brain has one simple job, and it's to keep us safe. It doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care about anything else. It's literally, its only purpose is to keep us safe. So we're talking about a tool that's millions of years old. It still thinks that there's tigers outside your front door, right? So it's always looking to make you play it safe. It doesn't want you to take a risk, to step outside your comfort zone, because it doesn't know what's going to happen. So what it does instead is it replays videos of the worst case scenario of what may happen if you do step outside your comfort zone. So fear is a really interesting thing. It's not to be, it can be, some people will turn around and they'll say things like, oh, but fear is great because it will keep me safe. If I'm walking down a dark alley and I see someone I don't like, I'll turn around and run away. But there's a difference too between instinct and fear, right? So instinct is an inner alarm system that we developed over the course of our lives and experiences. But what fear will actually do is it will stop you doing something just in case, right? So an example I use with people is instinct will tell you not to put your hand in the fire. Fear will tell you not to build the fire, because if you build the fire, you're running risk of burning the whole place down.
That's so interesting. I love that. So Kieran, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Before we go, can you just share where we can find out more about you. That last point that you said, the instinct versus fear, is so interesting to me. I'm sure that other people would love to find where they can find you online. So can you share that with us?
Yeah, of course, man. So I'm typically on LinkedIn. You can catch me, Kieran Halligan. My website is kieranhalligan.com. But I play around a little bit on Instagram. It's not quite as serious as it is on LinkedIn. And I've also recently started a YouTube channel where I'll be doing videos around ideas like fear and instinct and perspective, and just how to become more effective, more efficient, and more energetic in our day-to-day lives.
I love it. Thanks so much, man, for joining me.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Sam. Thank you.